Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. Welcome to the 17th session of the course Yoga and Positive Psychology for Managing Career and Life. In this session, we are going to look at pranayams as intervention for positive psychological outcomes and even beyond. As usual, so quick recap, we are studying interventions for managing self and career according to their location, or we can say primary location in the 5 koshas, panch koshas. We looked at ahar and asanas as intervention primarily located at Annamaya kosh, and in today's session we are going to extend our discussion from the last session about pranayam as interventions at pranamaya kosh level. We also know that all these koshas are interconnected with each other, and intervention at one kosh influences other koshas as well. In the last class, if you can recall, we discussed about pranavayu, nadi system, chakras. We also looked at the classification of pranayam practices in the form of conscious breathing, primary breathing methods and classical pranayam. As mentioned in the last class, we are extensively referring for these techniques this book by Swami Niranjananda Ji Saraswati. It is published by Bihar School of Yoga in Munger. You can recall that we connected how our breathing is deeply connected with the different parts of the brain, and conscious breathing brings activity zone to the prefrontal level from the limbic and the reptilian brain structures, and this conscious breathing eventually helps us in being more alert, more aware, and also help us to take more informed and conscious decisions on a moment to moment basis. Let us start today's session by looking at what Patanjali Yoga Sutra says about pranayam. This is mentioned primarily in the first chapter and second chapter. In the first chapter, it is mentioned as a method of controlling mind. So, in the first chapter, Maharshi Patanjali explained what are the different methods of controlling mind, how to do this, what is called chitta vritti nirodha, which is one of the important aspect of yoga, and that is stated in the very beginning of the Yoga Sutra. Amongst various methods, Maharshi Patanjali talks about pranayam and writes that tasmin sati swasa prashashayo gati vichhedah pranayamah. Kind of a definition that controlling the motion of exhalation and the inhalation once this is accomplished. So, once asanas are accomplished, the second step is controlling the motion of exhalation and inhalation, and that is called pranayam. In the very next sutra, Maharshi Patanjali gave the classification of pranayam, different types. So, bahya, abhyantara, stambha vritti, desha kala sankhya, paridrashtah, dirgha, sukshma. So, pranayam has either external or internal or motionless modifications. They are to be regulated by the place, time and number, and they can also be either long or short. So, this is some insight about the variety of the methods possible under the intervention or under the upang of pranayam. He also talks about the fourth pranayam, which is transcendental in nature, bahya abhyantar vishay apekshi chaturtha. Fourth pranayam is restraining the prana, directing it either to the external or internal objects. Once that happens, the covering over the inner light is removed, tatah chhiyate avaranam. So, when we reach at the fourth level of pranayam, veil of ignorance is removed. That is, these are the four main sutras where pranayam is directly mentioned in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Our focus of discussion is mainly about well-being and managing career. So, we are not going to have much discussion on the transcendental aspect of pranayam. Nonetheless, this is very important aspect, and according to some yogis, this is the ultimate object, transcending the individual identity and being connected with the universal identity, constant integrated awareness or consciousness. That is the ultimate objective. Kaivalya is the ultimate objective, but in these sessions we are not talking about these transcendental objectives. We are primarily focusing on well-being and managing career. So, our discussion about the pranayam will also follow that scope. So, first conscious breathing we discussed in the previous session. In today's session, we are going to start our conversation about techniques of pranayam with the abdominal breathing. Let us look at the benefits and what are the processes of abdominal breathing. You might recall that we discussed about 3 types of breathing, and abdominal breathing was the first one we discussed. Abdominal breathing helps to relax any mental tension. It promotes parasympathetic cardiovascular dominance. You all remember that sympathetic and parasympathetic, two aspects of nervous system. Parasympathetic is more related to fight, flight or fright, whereas parasympathetic calms down our system. So, the abdominal breathing helps in promoting the parasympathetic nervous system. It exerts full form bottom of lungs, then from sides. So, it ensures that bottom of the lung fully filled. So, the fresh air also move to the to these lobes, otherwise and mostly if we are breathing not consciously, then many parts of the lower lobes are not able to get enough oxygen. So, abdominal breathing helps in achieving that. Due to the large or due to the greater blood flow in the lower lungs, due to the gravitational forces, increases the efficiency of the gas exchange. There is a additional benefit of having more air and as a result more oxygen in the lower lobes of the lungs, because that result into better gas exchange on the surface. Base of the lungs and heart are attached to the upper surface of diaphragm. Liver, spleen, stomach and pancreas lie immediately beneath the diaphragm and are attached to the lower surface. Increased diaphragmatic movements improves the blood circulation in these organs as well. So, this is additional benefit of abdominal breathing. This helps to drain the subdiaphragmatic lymphatic system, and we know that lymphatic system is also deeply connected to the disease resistance mechanism of the body. There is a cycle, it leads to something, then it further leads to something, and that creates a virtuous cycle by the diaphragmatic breathing. A wide amplitude of diaphragm movement slows the whole process. that result into deep breathing, and that result into release of endorphins. So, this is one virtuous cycle. Then the narrow range of the movement result in shallow and rapid respiration, that is a vicious cycle. If we keep breathing unconsciously, generally those breaths are shorter, shallower, and that result into inverse of these benefits. Another cycle is, which is virtuous in nature, relaxed thoughts, which is the result of the deep breathing. They allow muscle relaxations, and relaxed breathing also calm down the mind. So, these are the virtuous cycles created or initiated by diaphragmatic breathing. Let us look at the technique of the natural diaphragmatic breathing. Lie in Savasana, relax the whole body, allow the breath to become spontaneous, regular and even. Take focus to diaphragm and visualize it as a sheet of muscle beneath the lungs. While breathing in, breath is being drawn into the lungs. While breathing out, diaphragm relaxes, pushing air out of the lung. So, continue this process, continue this natural abdominal breathing for some time without any resistance. Place right hand on abdomen above navel and left hand over center of the chest. So, that is the next step. While breathing, you will feel your right hand moving up with inhalation, and right hand you feel moving down with the exhalation. Please remember that there should not be any tension in the abdomen. Your left hand should not move with breath, which is on the chest. Try to feel the expansion and contraction of the lungs. Continue for few minutes. Feel that only diaphragm is moving with the breathing process. So, this is the utilization of or employing our power of awareness. So, that is the process of abdominal breathing. There are a lot of YouTube videos, and one video is there following exactly the same process in the application of the Bihar School of Yoga. You can refer that, and these are useful applications for taking you through these practices in a step by step manner. Next conscious breathing we are going to discuss is called yogic breathing. The practice of yogic breathing enables one to experience the complete range of each breathing mode. You might remember abdominal, thoracic and clavicular breathing. These are the three types of breathing we discussed in the previous session. Yogic breathing is about breathing all three aspects, all three ways. This process increases the ventilation and all lobes are expanded, all lobes of the lungs are expanded, and this bestows the benefit of fully controlled breathing. It does not mean that we should be doing yogic breathing all the time. We should allocate some time, and those time durations are given in the protocol, but doing this for some time gives us control on all aspect of breathing. And what happens when we have control over breathing? We naturally have control over mental processes as well when we have more control on the different aspects of breathing. So, let us look at what is the technique of yogic breathing. It starts with the same process, lying down in Savasana, relaxing and consciously relaxing the whole body. Inhale slowly from diaphragm and allowing diaphragm to expand fully, that is the first step. Then breathe slowly and deeply so that no sound is heard. So, we need to be conscious of it. At the end, inhale little more and feel air filling upper lobes of the lungs. So, here we are consciously filling up upper lobes of lungs as well, which makes it different from the abdominal breathing. This completes the one inhalation. So, one inhalation meaning first filling up the diaphragmic portion of the our thorax through inhalation, and then little more inhalation focusing on the upper lobes of the lungs. Now, start to exhale. Allow first chest to relax downward and then inward. After relaxing chest, allow diaphragm to move back into the chest, empty lungs by pulling abdominal wall down towards spine. This completes one round of yogic breathing. At least 10 rounds must be done in the beginning, and this whole process can be extended to 10 minutes daily after mastering this technique. Let us look at certain guidelines about pranayam. These are given in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It says that paranamen yukten sarva rog kashtyo bhaved ayuktabhyas yogen sarva rog samudgamah. When the pranayam is practiced as per the prescription, we can get rid of all diseases, but all diseases can arise if we follow improper practice. So, every practice must be treated with respect and caution. There should be no violent respiration, no extended kumbhak, meaning upholding the breath beyond a comfortable measure, and no forcing of breath, body or mind should be done. That is a basic, that is a ground rule of pranayam. Next is taken from this Yoga Chudamani Upanishad. It says that yatha sinho gajo vyagro bhavedvashah shanai shanai tathai sevito vayurantha hanti sadhakam. Just as the lion, elephant, tiger are brought under control slowly and steadily, similarly prana should be controlled, otherwise it becomes destructive to the practitioner. In order to qualify for the pranayam, must undergo the process of shat karmas. Process of shat karmas help us in controlling the prana, the movement of breath. We are going to look at the shat karma in a short while from now. Another guideline is given in the Gheram Sanhita, which says that mitaharam vinayastu yogarambham tu karyet. Nana rogo bhavet tasya kanchid yogo na siddhyati. Nana rogo, many diseases can happen. Kinchit yogo, not a iota of yoga can be realized, can be experienced without what? Without mitaharam, without control in ahar. So, control of diet is very important for pranayam to give result. So, practitioner of pranayam should choose the balanced diet. We have had a previous session on ahar, you can refer that, and that is a kind of a initial condition, a prerequisite for us to be able to perform pranayam and get the benefit of that. Guidelines about place and timing. So, the pranayam should be practiced in the clean environment to minimize the effects of pollution. Ideally, the place of pranayam should be somewhat isolated, away from the crowd, away from the interruptions and noise. Avoid practicing in the direct sun or wind. Rays of early morning suns are beneficial, but after that we should avoid practicing in the direct sun, under the direct sunlight. Timing is equally important. Early morning is the best time for the practice. At the time of the Brahma Muhurta, Brahma Muhurt is approximately 2 hours before sunrise. It should not be practiced after meals. If you are doing Kapalabhati or Brahmari or Shitali, we must wait for 3 hours after meal before practicing the pranayam. As we looked at the preparation is very important for pranayam. Shatakarma, 6 practices prepares our body for the pranayam and the higher practices like pratyahar, dharana and dhyana. These practices are neti, dhauti, nauli, basti, kapalabhati and tratak. Neti is the nasal cleansing. It is a process intended to purify the nasal passage and bathe the sinuses. It can be done with the with a pot, specially designed pot, and using the saline water, and it can also be done with the thread of rubber band. It comes especially for this practice. Dhauti, that is a cleaning process for the alimentary canal, including the esophagus, the mouth and stomach, intestine and rectum. There are a couple of methods by using cloth or by using the saline water. These are the different methods through which dhauti can be performed. Nauli is the cleansing practice for the abdomen, which uses abdominal muscle itself to massage and stimulate the digestive organs. The picture and the videos of Swami Ramdev ji performing Nauli are very popular. You can watch that in video. I am not describing these practices in detail in this lecture, because this lecture is not meant to guide for the practices and particularly little more complicated practices. The purpose is to make ourselves familiar to the practices and connect all these things with the positive psychology and many more benefits which are beyond positive psychology. Another method is basti. This method is purifying the large intestine either with or without water. That is also a very important process. Kapalabhati, many people think that it is pranayam, but in the classical sense Kapalabhati is not pranayam. It is a cleansing process, and probably the easiest cleansing process which can be performed by all of us in the beginning before we practice pranayam. So, it is a breathing technique. That means shining forehead. Kapal is the forehead, bhati means shining or cleansing. In this practice, breathe is forcefully exhaled through nostrils by strongly drawing the abdominal muscles, after which the inhalation happens naturally, and it is repeated 20 times in a quick rhythmic succession. In the literature, it is suggested that 48 per minute is the ideal speed for the Kapalabhati, but if you are doing it first time or if you are doing it after long time, the speed can vary. The important thing is that you should not exert the system and you should not try to go beyond your limits when you start the practice. The essence of yogic practice is that you gradually, in a non-violent way, enhance your capacity. Tratak is again a preparation practice for pranayam, and it can be very useful for students, because the additional benefit of Tratak is enhancing concentration, our ability to focus on one thought. Swami Vivekananda said that essence of education lies in ability to focus and pursue valued goals. If I am able to focus on something, I can make it happen. Tratak is a practice of using different objects. So, the most popular way of performing Tratak is keeping the lamp at the level of your eyes, keep watching it, focusing on that, and there are some other steps. As I told you, I am not going to describe the whole technique, because I want you to go to the videos put up by the masters, and Swami Ramdev ji has put up lot of detailed videos about the Tratak process as well. You can follow that. The essence of the practice is that you focus your attention on a lamp, on the light of the lamp, which is at the level of your eyes, and when you continue to observe that and keep your attention to that, something happens. That is very good for not only building our capacity for the pranayam, but also builds our capacity for dharana, for dhyan, and enhance our ability to focus on one thought or one object or one problem, which is the essence of academic success and career success as well. Few more guidelines for pranayam. This is probably a complicated process. So, we must be aware of the guidelines sequence. So, pranayam should be performed after asana, should not be performed before asanas, and should be performed before meditation practice. Natural fibers such as cotton or wool are the best to sit on for the practice of pranayam, and all breathing should be through the nose except where otherwise specified, and we will see there are few practices of pranayam where you can breathe and you are supposed to breathe through mouth, but for all other practices nasal breathing must be done. The nasal cavity should be regularly cleansed by jalaneti for efficient operation of the nostrils. Posture is extremely important. This is asana. Ability to sit comfortably in a meditation asana is a kind of a requisite for successful practice of pranayam. Both concentration and technique are hampered by the poor posture. So, we must identify that posture, that asana in which we are comfortable, and that posture is well identified in the classical yogic literature. The chest, neck, head must be in the one vertical line during the practice, so that the spinal cord remain straight, should not allow to become crooked or collapse at the when we are sitting. The best posture for practice are Padmasana, Siddhasana, Siddha Yogi Asana, or as in the inner engineering program it is taught Ardha Siddhasana and also Swastikasana. These are some of the postures which are most commonly adapted, most commonly held for performing pranayam. Let us look at the classical pranayam, and first and foremost is Nadi Shodhan pranayam. The word Nadi means energy channel and Shodhan means to cleanse or to purify. Therefore, Nadi Shodhan is the practice whereby pranic channels are purified. It is practiced by alternating the inhalation and exhalation between the left and right nostrils, and in this way influencing the Ida and Pingala nadis. You might remember Ida nadi, Pingala nadi, left and right nadis in our energy structure. These are also connected to the two brain hemispheres. So, Dattatraya's Yoga Sutra recommends that at the beginning it is practiced 4 times a day for 20 counts, with the retention to the best of one's ability. This should be performed 4 times a day, and this is also one pranayam which can be performed just after a half hour of meals. No other pranayam can be performed before at least 2 hours. Recommended time is 3 hours after a full meal. Let us come to the technique. Raise the hand in front of the face, place the tip of the index and middle finger gently on the eyebrow center. Both fingers should be relaxed. Hold the thumb just above the right nostril and ring finger just above the left. These two fingers control the flow of breath in the nostrils by alternately pressing one nostril, blocking the flow of breath, and then releasing and pressing the other nostril. Little finger is placed beside the ring finger. When practicing for the long period, the right elbow can be supported in the palm of the left hand. Care must be needed to keep the head, neck and backbone erect and in the straight in order to prevent the chest restriction. Stage 1 of alternate nostril breathing is about begin the equal inhalation and exhalation using the ratio 1:1. As mentioned in the previous slide, in the alternate nostril breathing, the first thing is exhale fully and inhale from the left nostril, exhale from the right nostril. Exhale and inhale in the stage 1 should be of the same proportion. Close with the right nostril with the thumb and inhale through the left nostril, that is the first step. At the same time, count mentally 1, 2, 3 until inhalation ends comfortably. Close the left nostril with the ring finger and release the pressure of the thumb on the right nostril. Again, while exhaling, count 1, 2, 3 simultaneously, and when you feel comfortably, exhale. By the time you feel, you can comfortably exhale. Few practice notes. After 1 week, if there is no difficulty, we can increase the length of inhalation and exhalation by 1 count or very few counts. Continue to increase the count in this way until count of 10:10 is reached. Do not force the breath in any way, that is a basic guideline for all the pranayam practices. Be careful not to speed up the counting during exhalation to compensate for the shortage of breath. Reduce the count at the slightest sign of discomfort. Then comes stage 2 after practicing few weeks. After perfecting the first 1:1 ratio and then 10:10 ratio, we can change this to 1:2. That means, initially half the length of inhalation, inhale for the count of 5 and exhale for the count of 10. Then we can repeat on the other side. This is 1 round, we can practice 5 to 10 round like this in the stage 2. Again, few practice notes. During the ensuing practice, continue extending the breath by adding 1 count to the inhalation and 2 to the exhalation up to the count of 10:20. With one contradiction, that stage 2 of the technique 2 begin the process of introversion. So, we must keep this in mind that it is not recommended for depressed and withdrawn persons. So, please keep it in mind. In stage 2 is not meant for people with the depression related symptoms. Extension of stage 2 actually involves longer count. So, it is not recommended for the people with the heart problems as well. Benefits of Nadi Shodhan Pranayam are immense, and these are very well researched. There are hundreds of research papers about the impact, about the positive impact of Nadi Shodhan Pranayam. Technique 2 certainly gives more pronounced balancing of breath and the brain hemisphere. It is found in many studies. As such, even the simpler, the stage 1 Nadi Shodhan Pranayam has a calming effect, it relieves anxiety, it improves concentration, and it stimulates Ajna Chakra, our ability to make decision. The ratio of 1:1 in stage 1 establishes a calming rhythm for brain and heart, and when brain and heart are on the common rhythm, it is very good for the cardiovascular system as well as nervous system. So, people having problems will be benefited, people not having problem or people's having problems not yet surfaced at the physiological level will also be benefited, and it is particularly beneficial in the stress related conditions, because it has immediate impact and no negative side effect. As the count extends, breathe slows down in general, and in this way it helps in keeping the balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Respiration also becomes more efficient with the Nadi Shodhan Pranayam, because air flow is smoother and less turbulent in the whole respiratory system. The ratio helps people with the respiratory problems such as asthma, emphysema and bronchitis. The ratio 1:1, 1:2 in stage 2 gives very profound relaxation. The heartbeat and pulse rate they slow down with the alternate nostril breathing, and blood pressure also drops. Third category of pranayams are called tranquilizing pranayam. Tranquilizing practices of pranayams are designed to relax the body, increasing while simultaneously increasing the pranic capacity and conscious awareness. These pranayams stimulate the parasympathetic nervous systems and draws the awareness within. Some bring greater psychic sensitivity, while others cool down the system. Tranquilizing techniques are usually practiced after Nadi Shodhan, which balances the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Tranquilizing practices are also done through the both nostrils together, and in some cases through the mouth as well. We are going to look at those practices in a short while. These practices should be avoided by the persons who are excessively introverted, oversensitive or psychically unbalanced, as they may exacerbate these. So, Shitali, Shitkari and these kind of pranayam should be avoided by excessively introverted or oversensitive or psychically unbalanced situations. Shitali and Shitkari pranayams are these two examples of the tranquilizing pranayams. These two practices were designed to reduce the body heat and very effective during hot weather. The root word sheath, not sheath, this is not an English sheet, it is sheath, that means cold, while Sheetal means calm, passionless and unemotional. So, these practices cool both body and mind. Actually, that is true with all the pranayam practices. Shitali and Shitkari are cooling practices, because the inhalation takes place through mouth rather than nose. When the breath is drawn in through the mouth, evaporation of the moisture on the tongue and the inner surface of the mouth cool the air. This cooled air then cools the blood vessels throughout the lungs, which gradually eliminates excess blood heat. The technique and effects of Shitali and Shitkari are the same, with only difference in the inhalation, and we are going to look at it. First, let us look at the technique of Shitkari pranayam. Sit in comfortable meditative posture, close eyes, relax the body, hold teeth tightly together, separate lips, exposing teeth, and then the tongue may be kept flat or folded against the soft palate in the Khachari mudra. We have not discussed Khachari mudra, but that is a very powerful mudra, and you can learn that online, Jaggi Vasudevji or Swami Ramdevji. So, with the flat or folded palate, inhale slowly and deeply through the teeth. At the end of the inhalation, close the mouth, exhale slowly through the nose in the controlled manner. This is one round. We can have 11 rounds of practice, and that can be increased to the 21 rounds. Shitali pranayam is slightly different, where we need not to close our mouth by keeping the teeth lines touching each other. So, we can keep the mouth open, put the tongue outside of the mouth, it can be flat or it can be folded, that is the variation in the Shitali pranayam from the Shitkari. Another pranayam which is very common and certainly immensely benefited and certainly immensely beneficial is Bhramari pranayam. Bhramar is the name for the bee. This practice is called because we imitate the same deep and low pitched humming sound of the black bee. It is used in Nada Yoga to awaken awareness of the inner psychic sound. Technique is that sit in comfortable meditation asanas with the hands resting on the knees in the Gyan or Chin mudra. Close the eyes, relax whole body, jaw should be relaxed with the lips gently closed and teeth slightly separated. This allows the sound vibration to be heard and felt more distinctly. Raise the arms sideways and bend the elbows, bringing the hand to the ears. That is the first step towards the main important steps of Bhramari. Then use the index finger to close the flaps of the ears, bring the awareness to the center of the head where Ajna chakra is located, and keep body absolutely still. Inhale through the nose. While exhaling, slowly in controlled manner produce a deep, steady humming sound like that of the black bee. Be aware of the continuous humming sound within the head. The humming should be smooth even for the duration of the exhalation. The sound should be soft and mellow, making the front of the skull reverberate. At the end of exhalation, hands may remain in the unprized position, or they can be returned to the knees and then raised again for the next round. This is one round, and 11 round practice is the with which we can start, and it can be increased to 21 rounds. So, these are some of the pranayams we discussed in this session. These are most commonly practiced pranayams, but there are multiple types of pranayams. There are pranayams which are practiced in conjunction with specific asanas, specific mudras. So, there is a whole range of pranayam starting from very simple like conscious breathing to very complicated where you have to remember multiple steps, and there is a particular protocol as it is taught in the Shakti Chalan Kriya by the Inner Engineering Foundation. So, there can be multiple ways and different practices depending on our emotional, physiological and spiritual needs. We can pick up appropriate practices. Our gurus, the mentors and the teachers of yoga must be respected, and we must take up any practice under the guidance, and particularly the practice of pranayam must be taken under the guidance of a trained yoga teacher or yoga master, and we can also gradually enhance the complexity of the practice. We need to be also conscious what is my core need. Is my need mostly physiological, emotional, relational well-being, or my needs are beyond these and also at the level of spiritual awakening and spiritual evolution. So, accordingly we need to pick up the practice. This is the essence. In this session we just try to give the overview of the pranayam and how this can be excellent intervention for the positive psychological outcome. So, the final thoughts of pranayams can be summarized in the words of Stephen Parker. We must remember that focusing awareness on the breath activates all the integrative functions of middle prefrontal cortex, and that is the basic process in all kinds of pranayams. So, that is a great benefit. Second aspect is that pranayam allows individuals to be more objective in the more objective space, because awareness on the breath prepares our mind to remain more objective stage, and that awareness brings the emotional awareness, and we can control our emotions better. Yoga asserts that relaxing through the pause in the breath helps the mind to maintain its attention and concentration on a single object. Breath awareness and especially focused attention on exhalation phase of the breath activates parasympathetic relaxation response. The resultant release of oxytocin into the blood stream that elevates the mood problems and counters the stress, as well as it promotes human bonding and healing. Many of you might know that oxytocin is also called cuddling hormone. It promotes human bonding and result into healing, all of which contributes to our emotional health. With our anxiety in check, our me, you or we maps as identified by the impersonal neurobiology are likely to become much more accurate. Our distinction based on ego can come down, and our connection based on our shared experience of life and emotions can increase with the practice of pranayama.